It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Monday, December 6th. And this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful Monday? We've got some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, the Sunday Sermon Review, and a segment of Thoughts of the Week with Shaun, Juseong, McMillan. So how was your weekend? I'm sure you guys were able to have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, just rest, relaxation, and then of course an amazing Sunday service with Pastor Joan and the Lord. I hope you guys received a ton of grace and fire just like I did, but it's Monday again, and it's the week we can restart another amazing week doing things together with the Lord and ending the year well in this last month. So some of you might be thinking, it's Monday, shouldn't we be having 2G talks with, Eddie Kwan from San Francisco? Just a little bit of a mix-up. I usually have my thoughts of the week it's on Thursday, but wonderfully, I'm so thankful I'm over here in Los Angeles, and Shaun, Juseong McMillan's over here too, and he is doing this really amazing. I'm not sure if you guys are like this, but this is amazing. He just has like personal projects, and right now he's writing a story. Like his own story. He's studying on how to write stories. And for his thoughts of the week, he's going to talk about making creative news stories and how to do so. So I thought this was super interesting. So I asked him to do the thoughts of the week, what's going on in his life and what he's thinking about these days. So we're going to listen to that instead of the 2G Talks. And 2G Talks will commence next week with Eddie Kwan. Well, yeah, so that's going to happen next week. This week's message, pretty crazy, right? Tell me guys, it was crazy. The way Pastor Joan does it, it's really, it's geared towards SS, but then again, when you're listening to it, you're like going, man, like this is for us kind of thing, right? And it's God treats you and fulfills his will according to how much you have matured, right? So we're going to have a great word study today. Hope you guys will look forward to that. Also, I'm very grateful for all of you guys joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. What we're trying to do now is to build a community. And now on SoundCloud and on YouTube, we have more and more people just writing up, commenting other people. So I hope that this can become a place for a lot of us to kind of express our thoughts about the word. Even what's going on in your life. It'll be great to hear more and more people comment, but it's slowly beginning to develop, so I'm super grateful and thankful about this too. You guys know who you are. There's a lot of you who are always commenting. I hope you guys can do so each and every day, all right? So for me, I'm about 3 weeks away from leaving Los Angeles, and this one's for sure. It's going to be on the 23rd, right before Christmas. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to go home to see my parents on Christmas. Like those of you know, it's been 6.5 years since I've been home. Okay, so it's been a long, long time. So I'm super excited about this. But also next week, there's like a local soccer event that's happening over here in Los Angeles. So we were supposed to have it nationally, but it's going to be local now. But that's okay because, we have COVID, and then people are freaking out about the Omicron variant and stuff like that too. But I'm just super thankful to be outside and to be able to exercise more than anything else. So I'm super excited about that. Did you guys see the Espresso with Sky video on the last days? We have the new direction for the Espresso with Sky. Some of you guys don't know, I have 2 YouTube channels. I have this MSD 117.8, and of course, this is the one you're listening to right now, these podcast Sunday editions. But also, I have another YouTube channel called Espresso with Sky, and that one is a separate channel, and it's made for newcomers. It is spiritual content about faith, life, God, the Bible. You can let your newcomers watch and listen. You can also learn the logic and reasoning. And there's a lot of people right now, really interesting. A lot of people are learning English through that too. And it's kind of cool because they're trying to evangelize English-speaking people. So having that for them and people gaining from it is really, really a cool thing for them also. Those of you guys, a lot of you have already ordered things from the Pravi clothing store. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Of course, you're going to have the promo code, which is 15% off. And then also promo code and the website going to be in the description below. And those of you guys on Patreon, don't forget, if you take a look at the actual advertisement in Patreon members get a 25% discount for those that are supporting too. So go ahead and check that out on the Pravi clothing site. Yesterday, Sunday edition, we interviewed Daniel Patterson from Australia. I hope you guys will enjoy it. Guys, you have to listen to his story before coming to Providence. I was like about to cry. It was so moving. It is so moving. You guys have to listen to this part in the beginning. Like you just get to see where people are coming from, and I really was really inspired and moved by what he about his story too. Guys, you have to check out that first story. It's really crazy, right? Yesterday was the Sunday. That was the Sunday edition. Guys, you just gotta watch it. There's Daniel Patterson this week's Sunday edition. Go ahead and watch that one. Shout outs to Brian in Hawaii, Bridget from, I believe she's from Taiwan, and then Christine from Los Angeles for supporting us here on Patreon, for believing and supporting this channel. If you want to support us too, then check out the Patreon link in the description. And if you're on SoundCloud, click the blue button on the homepage. Patreon is a crowdfunding site that you can support the Morning Star Drive at just $3 a month. And at the moment, hey guys, you guys are supporting us building our studios, getting new equipment, trying to make the programs better and better each and every day, all right? So at the moment, we have lecture training, we have Monday Bible studies, and we also have like word studies. We have like 3 word studies a week, so go ahead and check that one out too. It's really, when it comes to like learning the word, understanding it more deeply, this is like one of those mental gymnastics and exercises that you can do together with us, all right? And for those of you guys don't know, on Patreon, yes, there's a lot of that stuff on, but about 90% of the people on the site are just there to support the channel. You don't have to look at that stuff. You can just do it to support, so it's purely up to you, all right? So let's move on to today's featured artist of the day. Who's today's featured artist of the day? Who is it? Who is it? It is the Sumney Boys from America. I hope you guys enjoyed this. One of my favorite songs. One of the original tracks I used to start the Morning Star Drive. This is the Sumney Boys from America with Butterfly featuring Sarah Chamberlain over there in the UK. And then second song, because we had Daniel Patterson on the Sunday edition, I'm going to play his song. For those of you guys don't know, they are making a new song right now, so I'm really looking forward to that. Also, I gave them a suggestion for their group name. I don't know what you guys think. I said AB4. There's 4 of them. A is the Aussie Boys for AB4. So AB4 is kind of catchy. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I was like, yeah, that would be kind of cool, AB4, right? But that's the song, All My Thanks and Love. And then last but not least, we'll break things down with PGY from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with Wherever. All right? So as we're continuing to end this year really well, let's make sure to put in some prayers for all these member artists from around the world.
Gotta let go and let it happen,
Yeah.
Believe in yourself and believe in somebody.
Gotta believe in yourself, cause no one else will.
You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure.
You wanna make it happen? Don't ever back down from the challenge ahead of you. Gotta keep your head up, have a positive attitude. Like a junk sometimes when problems arise. Just take it all in, learn and grow, then it'll be alright. The stages to life and where you wanna be, nobody said it will be easy. You have to struggle to get your dreams seen. You gotta transform, believe me. When people don't think so much of you, use it as fuel, shock 'em with the new you. When people say that's not what you should do, just let them watch you hit your new moves. Ay, a young caterpillar, now a butterfly. Give thanks to God till the day you die. No limits to your life, cause now you fly. Spread your wings and soar up to the sky.
As the sun shines bright, I let my wings dry and fly away. No limits to the sky. With your warming, shining love, the spring's come. I'm born again. No limits to my life because of you. 'Cause you have made this butterfly.
This little boy, just living in his own world, having his mind full of himself, just keeping in the old. This little boy is trapped inside his own cocoon. Maybe one day his wings will sprout soon. Now I'm going through metamorphosis, but I'm feeling like Morpheus. The red pill, the blue pill was one would make me victorious. In life you have to overcome with these little moments. Now all he has to do is never get discouraged. Yo, now is the time I put on the wings and fly. I'm soaring up to the sky, just making sure that I shine. No longer that little caterpillar, but I'm flying like Butterfree. I'm dripped up and dripped out, with his wings of flight I'm breaking free. This story doesn't end just after this verse. No, there's
many more chapters as I continue my growth. If you're not dreaming too high, you're dreaming too small. I very aware of the old things that I don't need in this world. Throw away your old methods into new ways. Only then you'll celebrate, it's a new day.
As the sun shines bright, as the sun shines bright, and fly away.
Throw away your old methods into new ways.
Limits to the sky. With your warming, shining love, the spring's come. I'm born again.
Only then you'll celebrate, it's a new day.
Limits to my life because of you. 'Cause you have made this butterfly. As the sun shines bright, I let my wings dry and fly away.
Throw away your old methods into new ways.
Limits to the sky. With your warming, shining love, the spring's come. I'm born again.
Only then you'll celebrate, it's a new day.
Limits to my life because of you. 'Cause you have made this butterfly. As the sun shines bright,
Throw away
as the sun shines bright, and fly away.
old methods into new ways.
No limits to the sky. With your warming, shining love, I'm born again.
It's a new day.
No limits to my life because of you. 'Cause you have made this butterfly. 'Cause you have made this butterfly.
Yeah, welcome to God's new history. Daily preaching, the Bible no longer a mystery. Saving lives, taking action, what a wonderful destiny. Working tirelessly and we can become heavenly. All I ever wanted for you is to see we can become one with the Trinity. A condition was set by His highest. Confess and pray, create a new mindset. If you follow until the end, I promise you, you will surely realize God's divineness.
He's divine, y'all. Alpha and Omega, He's divine. Yeah. So let's reflect on the past. You gotta look deeply at the things God has done. Salvation at the highest has been granted. That's a blessing of blessings, the Lord's mandate. Spring water the hills faster than a band-aid. COVID safe cause His eyes was on us like a magnet. Got the seal on our foreheads, yet they can't do nothing. The devil and his gang have been disbanded.
So I raise my praise to you. So I lift my hands up high. Even in my weakness, even in my struggles, I'll always give my thanks and love. All my thanks and love.
Got so many bars that I never lose signal. Keeping it lit like a candlelight vigil. Lamp to my feet and a light to my palm. God's word is my perspective, the righteous collective. Filtering pollution, being mentally selective. Guarding the heart, it's a protective. Do it in a new way, in spirit and physicality. Do it in a new way, take your higher razor level. Giving God glory, God's love is the story. So rich in His love, feeling like a rich miser. Love is exploding like a geyser. Love so contagious, spread across the world like Pfizer. Antidote of a nation.
Reflect on the past. You gotta look deeply at the things God has done. Salvation at the highest has been granted. That's a blessing of blessings, the Lord's mandate. Spring water the hills faster than a band-aid. COVID safe cause His eyes was on us like a magnet. Got the seal on our foreheads, yet they can't do nothing. The devil and his gang have been disbanded.
So I raise my praise to you. So I lift my hands up high. Even in my weakness, even in my struggles, I'll always give my thanks and love. All my thanks and love.
Okay.
달의 연가를 들으며 홀로 도시를 걸었어요. 불빛은 한없이 어두워요. 여기엔 나 말고 아무도 없는 건가요? 아무것도 보이지가 들리지가 않는 거예요. 맞아요, 도시는 지금 텅 비었어요. 심장이 멈추어버린 내 차가운 가슴과 같아요. 눈물이 떨어져 빗물과 하나가 됐을 때 머리를 울리는 당신의 외침이 들려. 나의 이름을 불러. 그러면 내가 너의 옆에 있을게. 부르고 또 불러. 그러면 네가 나의 옆에 있을 거야. 보이지 않는다고 없는 게 아니니까. 아무리 어두워도 내일은 오니까. 태양의 등불은 어디에나 있어줄게. 그러니 울지마. That I'm compromised. It couldn't be perfect. I wouldn't carry on anymore. I just thought I was insane, that no one could even understand me. It was hard to know how it became with the one from The Little Prince. Where were you, my tiny flare? I know you don't have any fear. I believe in you and the change that I'm going through. I can't hear you on the silent avenue. Now show me your smile again. 나의 뜨거운 불로 너의 아픔까지 모두 다 태워줄게. 다시 한번 불러. 네가 나를 잊지 않게 만들 거야. 느껴지지 않는다고 없는 게 아니니까. 아무리 추워도 봄은 오는 거니까. 너의 태양은 어디에나 있어줄게.
KGUI from the Paper News Associates in Korea with Wherever. Before that, AB4, All My Thanks and Love. We'll see what their name is. The Aussie Boys from Australia. And then last but not least, we have the Sumney Boys, the feature artist of the day from America with Butterfly featuring Sarah over there in the UK. Well, she's currently in Canada right now. All right, so let's get into the news going around the world. And of course, we need to know, what is God doing? What's happening in the world? What is God doing? And I hope it's something that we can kind of get a better idea of the things that we need to pray for by looking at the news and what's going on in the world, all right? So let's start off with the coronavirus updates for today. Until now, there have been 265.9 million cases with 5.26 million deaths, and that's at a 1.99% mortality rate. Top 5 countries going by daily infection rates and daily death rates. The US on top. Yes, on a Monday, they're on top. 56,000 cases, 492 deaths. In France, 51,000 cases, 49 deaths. Germany with 46,000 cases with 222 deaths. UK, 42,000 cases, 127 deaths. And then Russia rounds up the top 5 with 32,000 cases and 1,215 deaths in a 24-hour span. Over here in North America, the US on top, and then Mexico with 3,000 cases with 188 deaths, and then Canada with 2,700 cases and only 9 deaths in a 24-hour span. So good job to Canada. So let's take a look at what is the top 3 news going around the world. And we're going to start off with the Omicron variant for the coronavirus. And we're going to take a look at some of the first data points that we see right now, especially when it comes to reinfection risk. So the first real world data showing the coronavirus variant Omicron may evade some of our immunity has been reported by scientists in South Africa. Scientists have detected a surge in the number of people catching COVID multiple times. So it's a rapid analysis and not definitive. So guys, don't freak out yet, right? It's a rapid analysis more than anything else, but it fits with concern about the mutations the variant possesses. And it's also not clear what this means for the protection given by vaccines. So you guys understand that this is just kind of first data points that are coming out. We don't want anyone to freak out or panic. This is just kind of the stuff that's coming out right now. So a week after the variant was named Omicron, the world is still scrambling to understand the true threat posed by the variant. No one is certain yet. But now the first pieces of a large and complex puzzle are started to be assembled. And we already know that the variant is heavily mutated, and officials in South Africa have warned it is leading to a surge in cases there. Now, the latest piece of the jigsaw is understanding how likely somebody who has already had COVID is likely to catch Omicron. It's also been detected in more than 30 countries, and scientists have analyzed nearly 36,000 suspected reinfections in South Africa to look for any changes to reinfection rates. So, which means catching it twice or more throughout the pandemic. So they showed there was no surge in the risk of reinfection during either the beta or delta waves. And this is despite laboratory studies suggesting those variants had the potential to evade some immunity. However, they are now detecting a spike in reinfections, and they have not tested each patient to prove it is Omicron, but they say the timing suggests the variant is the driving force. So get that, guys. They haven't tested anyone to see whether it's the new variant or not. So they don't know if it is the new one, right? And the study, which has not been formally reviewed, so this is another huge thing, it's not reviewed yet, by other scientists, estimates Omicron could be twice as likely to cause reinfection than earlier variants. And that could sound really bad, but it depends on what that original, what is the original estimate, right? So what if it's only like 0.0001% and it's like 0.0002? Then you're like, oh, it's still pretty low. So we have to know that one also. So if you go to South Africa, there's a professor, Juliet Pulia, from Stellenbosch University, and one of the researchers said, the findings suggest that Omicron's selection advantage is at least partially driven by an increased ability to infect previously infected individuals. However, it's still only one piece of the puzzle. So it's not, remember, like I said, it's a huge, large, complex puzzle. We've only got the first data point. So there are questions about how much waning immunity is a factor and the extent to which any variant would be able to take off now. So in addition, this was a rapid analysis and more data will come with time. And the high burden of HIV, which suppresses the immune system in the country, also makes it harder to interpret the findings for the rest of the world, right? So remember, guys, we're talking in a country where there's a lot of people with AIDS, right? And that has to do with the immune system. So that makes it a little bit more difficult to compare South Africa with your country. So lab studies that show how well antibodies can attack the virus are expected to give results in the next week. And here's another thing you have to understand. South Africa is only 24% fully vaccinated. So that's another thing that you kind of take into consideration, that it's very different than our countries that we're in right now. Most of the countries that we're living in are well over 50%, 60, 70, 80% in some countries too. So that's why it's very hard to understand what would happen in your countries, or like Canada, US, the UK, right? Where they have vaccinated like triple the amount of them. Right. And they're even getting booster shots before, like, not even 25% of the population has gotten theirs in South Africa. So in most cases, most scientists are saying that even if vaccines are less effective at stopping you from catching the COVID virus, the main job of preventing severe disease and death will hold up better. Okay, so that's good news. And the most scientists are kind of having that gut feeling, right? So that's the first in the news. Second is, we're going to go to Indonesia. And Indonesia, there was a volcanic eruption. A volcano erupts and rescuers face ash as high as rooftops, right? So rescuers in Indonesia are searching for survivors in villages buried by hot ash after Mount Semeru on Java Island erupted on Saturday. 14 people are known to have died and dozens were injured, emergency authorities said. One volunteer in the nearby district of Lumajang filmed the police and military officials working to dig out bodies with their bare hands. Now, houses were buried to their rooftops and vehicles wholly submerged. And at least 11 villages in that East Java area were coated in volcanic ash. At least 56 people have been injured, with many suffering burns after they mistook the hot mud flow for flooding. So a spokesperson for Indonesia's disaster mitigation agency, the BNPB, said the injured were being treated as various hospitals and medical facilities are being filled with the injured. So some 1,300 people have been evacuated from the area so far, the agency said, and 10 sand mine workers trapped in buildings have been saved. Rescue shelters have been equipped with food, face masks, I don't know what you call it, tarpaulins, and body bags. So the evacuation has been hampered by choking smoke, a power blackout, and rainstorms during the eruption, which turned the debris into mud. An important bridge from the area to the nearby city of Malang was also severed during the eruption. So the head of Indonesia's geological agency said heavy rain falling on the lip of Mount Semeru's crater caused it to partially collapse, triggering the eruption. So this is not something where it was time. There was a lot of rain and the crater partially collapsed, and that caused the eruption. So because before that there was no increase in size, the seismology suggests that any change in magma flow had happened, right? So we'll see what happens here. I know that up to this point there's 14 people who have died so far from this volcanic eruption. So a lot of things to pray for here. So Mount Semeru is in a near permanent state of eruption and regularly spews ash up to about 4,300, like over 4 kilometers into the air. So Saturday's eruption was a pretty significant increase in intensity. And Mount Semeru rises about 3.6 kilometers above sea level and is among Indonesia's almost 130 active volcanoes. So Indonesia has a ton of these active volcanoes. So it's something that we do need to think about, right? So Indonesia sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where continental plates meet, causing frequent volcanic and seismic activity, which includes earthquakes. And it's something that we really need to pray for, this giant ash cloud, hot ash clouds, like reaching above rooftops, which is kind of crazy. So one thing to pray for. We have a church over there in Indonesia too. Last but not least, we're going to go into the nuclear summit when it comes to Iran, right? And Israel's Bennett, the new prime minister, urges hard line against Iran at nuclear talks. So Israeli leader calls on Western powers to make clear to Tehran it cannot enrich uranium and negotiate at the same time. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett urged world powers to take a hard line against Iran in negotiations aimed at reviving an international nuclear deal. Now, Bennett made the comments on Sunday as his top defense and intelligence officials headed to Washington to discuss the flailing talks. Israel has been watching with concerns as world powers sit down with Iran in Vienna in hopes of restoring the tattered 2015 deal. Last week, Iran struck a hard line as talks resumed, suggesting everything discussed in previous rounds of diplomacy could be renegotiated. So continued Iranian advances in its atomic program have further raised the stakes. And of course, the original deal that was spearheaded by then-President Barack Obama gave Iran much-needed relief from crippling economic sanctions in exchange for curbs on its nuclear activities. But then, of course, President Donald Trump, with strong encouragement from Israel, withdrew, but it's mainly because Iran was not keeping their promises on what they were doing. So last week's talks in Vienna resumed after more than 5-month hiatus and were the first in which Iran's new hardline government participated. European and American negotiators expressed disappointment with Iran's positions and questioned whether the talks would actually succeed. Israel has long opposed a 2015 nuclear deal with Iran, known as the JCPOA, saying it did not go far enough to halt the country's nuclear program and doesn't address what it sees as hostile Iranian military activity across the region. So prominent voices in Israel are now indicating the U.S. withdrawal, especially without a contingency plan for Iran's continuously developing nuclear plan. But Israel's new government has maintained a similar position to that of former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, rejecting a return to the original deal and calling for diplomacy to be accompanied by military pressure on Iran. So let's see what happens here. Let's hope that, there's not going to be any nuclear weapons. We got to get rid of them altogether. But this is something that's really big because Iran is a country that seems to continuously be developing their nuclear program, even though they shouldn't. Okay? So that is the third and last news and top 3 news going around the world. A lot of things to think about, pray about, and see what God is doing. Okay, so let's get into some sporting news. And this is a big deal in college football. I know that you guys might think that college football is not a big deal, but it is. It is so popular. You have 100,000 students watching these games, people giving hundreds of millions of dollars to these programs. NCAA last week before they make the final college football playoffs, which is the top 4 teams, big games happen. Alabama, number 3 in the nation, defeats number 1 Georgia. Georgia was undefeated all season, but Alabama has no problems, 41-24. And this basically changes everything, and most likely Alabama will jump to number 1 in the nation when it comes to the big playoffs. Cincinnati beats Houston 36-20. Michigan obliterates number 13 Iowa 42-3. So this makes it interesting that if they could possibly go up to number 2, or Alabama will come up to number 2. We'll see what happens there. Baylor beats Oklahoma. Oklahoma State was number 5, and they had a big chance of making it into the playoffs, but they lost to Baylor in their championship game. So they basically lost their chance for the CFP. So right now, what is most likely? They say most likely Alabama will jump to number 1. Michigan will stay at number 2. And then we're not sure about 3 and 4, but they say most likely Georgia and Cincinnati will be in it too. So it doesn't seem like the top 4 changes. It's just going to be a different order. Let me get into the NBA. NBA, this is what happened over the weekend. Denver beats the New York Knicks 113-99. Jokic with 32 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Chicago beats Brooklyn, the number 2 team beats the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, 111-107. Zach LaVine, 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Milwaukee is getting back on track. They defeat the Miami Heat 124-102. San Antonio defeats the Golden State Warriors 112-107. Steph Curry 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists in a losing effort. And now both Golden State and Phoenix are both 19-4, leading the Western Conference and the entire league, those 2 teams. Brooklyn sits in 3rd overall with a 16-7 record, Utah 15-7, and then Chicago Bulls at 16-8. So let's see what happens there. And of course, last but not least, the top 3 news, we go to the UFC. Big fight night over the weekend, and former champion Jose Aldo, he's down to the bantamweight division. He used to be champion of the division right above this, and he handily beats Rob Font 3 rounds, 50-45, which means that's all rounds he won. 50-45, 50-45, and 49-46. So this is his 5th win in a row, and he might get a chance soon to fight the bantamweight champion. Right, he could get a championship bout, so this is something that's pretty interesting. But I think his next match will be against former champ TJ Dillashaw first before getting a title shot more than anything else. All right, so that is the top 3 news in sports, top 3 news around the world, and of course coronavirus updates, which means we are getting into the golden time. Yes, on this golden time, we're going to start off with something fun. We're going to go higher and higher, and then to the person following the Lord, and then we'll end things off with I live only for the Lord. So, as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Look at you. You are dazzling, led by the Holy Spirit. You are changing in the best way. Look at me. I I'm dazzling, led by the word of truth. I know my destiny is changing. Go higher and higher while throwing out my thoughts. Go higher and higher, taking action on His will. Go higher and higher, beyond the limit. That's how I can really truly love myself in the best way. We are transformed. We are awesome for sure. Let's climb the highest heights, go higher and higher.
Don't stop and just keep going.
Transforming, awesomely, go higher. Na 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 na.
Yeah. Look at you, look at me. Everyone is shining, that's the walls that block you and me. With the Lord, we'll break right through them. When we can do no more, the secret is do one more. There are no limits here, we're not with no limit. Don't stop, it just keep going. You changed a lot, so gotta keep growing. Started from the bottom, now we're going to the highest. The Lord, He takes me to the Trinity.
Rise up on the rest, go high, changing for the best.
Go high,
Rise up on the rest,
go high,
changing for the best.
go high,
Rise up on the rest,
go high,
changing for the best.
go high,
Rise up on the rest,
go high,
transforming, awesomely.
go high.
Go higher and higher while throwing out the thoughts. Go higher and higher, taking action on His will. Go higher and higher, beyond the limit. That's how I can really truly love myself in the best way. We are transformed. We are awesome for sure. Let's climb the highest heights, go higher and higher.
Don't stop and just keep going.
Transforming, awesomely.
Go high.
We have transformed. We are awesome for sure. Let's climb the highest heights, go higher and higher.
Don't stop and just keep going.
Transforming, awesomely.
Go high,
Rise above the rest,
go high,
changing for the best.
go high,
Rise above the rest,
go high,
changing for the best.
go high,
Rise above the rest,
go high,
changing for the best.
go high,
Rise above the rest,
go high.
transforming, awesomely, go higher.
Can anyone seize the person following the Lord? Can anyone stop that sun setting over the hill? Just as the night grows dark and turns into the break of dawn, we teach you as we listen to the word of life. As the Lord misses us, so we yearn and longs for us, we too listen, so we long for you, Lord. Can anyone seize the person following the Lord? Can anyone stop the sun setting over the hill? Everything and everyone in this whole world may change. Oh, my heart is still only for God's will eternally. Can anyone seize the person following the Lord? Can anyone stop that sun setting over the hill? Just as the night grows dark and turns into the break of dawn, we choose you as we listen to the word of life. As the Lord misses us, so we yearn and longs for us, we too listen, so we long for you, Lord. Can anyone seize the person following the Lord? Can anyone stop the sun setting over the hill?
live only for the Lord, oldie but a goodie. Before that, the person following the Lord, and of course, go higher and higher. All right, so let's get into today's word study. And of course, I'm sure that everyone is super excited about the Sunday message. God treats you and fulfills his will according to how much you have matured. And if you just look at the title itself, it kind of explains everything. The verse used today, yesterday in Hebrews 5:13-14, I love that verse. I use that one all the time. We have to grow in the word. We can't just be like children drinking milk anymore, but we have to eat solid food like adults, like the mature. Now, before I get into the word study, you guys got to tell me, the special prayer and the special song was crazy. Like for me, I was like, wow. Special prayer, hearing Son sing's prayer and how he prays, it is so clear. It is so detailed. And the way he speaks to God is so reverent. And when I looked, I was like, wow, this is how you're supposed to pray. And it's just the classic and great example of how we should be doing it. I was thankful to hear that special prayer. And just the prayer is different, as it should be, but it's different and it's quite inspiring. And then the special song, oh my goodness. Tell me that song was so powerful. Like, I can't wait till it comes into English and we start to sing that song. That song is so good. I want to play it over and over and over again. It's very Hillsong stylish. I love it. It's something that you can't repeat. It's something that you can repeat over and over again. I listened to it again when I was at a cafe. It's so powerful. And I was just like, whoa, like what a crazy special song. And the production quality of it was just amazing too. I was happy to see a lot of old faces and new faces too. But yeah, it was so good. Either way. Just that in itself was like preparation city, and I was just like inspiring more than anything else. So let's get into this week's what was it? Oh, let's get into the Sunday message, right? Great message about maturing. And I really like that beginning point because it was Taiwan joining. There's like talking over like thousands of people that were joining, 120 different areas, and they're all joining together. So thousands and thousands of people. And I just loved it, how we get to hear how Taiwan is doing in that Buddhist country, but they're exhibiting the power of resurrection, where you think it would be more difficult, but instead it's working really strong. The numbers doubled in Vietnam. Taiwan is doing well. We think it's impossible to evangelize, but they really show the power of resurrection and evangelism, getting the breath of life from the Lord ever since we did in September, right? And it's kind of an obvious thing because in the past, we saw the gospel spreading the New Testament time to the West. Right? Everything was moving to the West. It was in like Germany and then over to the UK, France and the UK, and then over to the West, right? Where you have America, Canada, and Latin America, South America, right? And you see it's a very Western thing more than an Eastern religion. And then East became really late in receiving the gospel, like Asia, but then they were the ones that were able to receive the new history. And now you see that the Complete Testament centers on the Eastern countries. And it's incredible just talking about the progress that we have made here in 40 years. Like that is incredible if you think about that. Because I like the comparison to the beginning of the New Testament time. And because the Old New Testament's 2,000 years and the Complete Testament's 1,000 years, it's kind of with the look at it doubled. So if you're looking right now, 43 years, you have to look at what was Christianity like in year 60 to 70, right? And of course, we know that in 70 AD is when the Temple of God was destroyed. You're going to see a lot of persecution. We're oppressed under the Roman rule. And when you look at this, you're like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. But when you look at us, we're like, wait, we're doing so well. We are getting, we have the gospel set up in Taiwan, in a Buddhist country, Japan, which is not a Christian country, like less than 1%. And it's like, wow, this is the progress we have in Providence is incredible. We have our own buildings. We have like over 100 churches around the world. It's really time to wrap up the year well, right? And when you think about this, it's like we have been growing so much better than we thought, right? The perception has to change. Can you imagine what it was like in the New Testament time when the temple was destroyed? That's like Warmindong being destroyed in the year, what year would be? It would be in year 35. So we've already passed that, and Warmindong has not been destroyed. That is incredible what we're doing. Everyone, we've got to wrap up this year well. Just as important as the beginning is the ending, because it will determine our fate. And that's like, whoa, that's how big it is. It is that big. If you end bad, what does that mean? It's like someone who doesn't finish. So the messages we're receiving since last week, as we started this new week into the last month of 2021, is to help us wrap up everything really well. And now we have to bury the old things completely, be clean. Okay, so don't get discouraged, don't get disappointed about certain things that are happening. Just like Pastor Jonah's dream, got to flush that poop down the toilet, right? Bury it, cremate it, incinerate it, burn it to ashes. And then we can wrap up the year well, just as Sunseam really wants us to. The key word, especially for this week's message, is maturity. We've got to mature, grow, mature, completion, have faith that's like a mature adult, grow, be responsible. We got to be responsible. I like what Pastor Jones said at the very end is an adult will take care of the kids no matter how crazy the situation is. We have to mature, right? More than anything else, there are two responsibilities in this relationship. It is God who is working upon us. So that's not something we have to worry about. But the thing that we have to think about the most is the second part, which is growing, which is our responsibility. God can only work upon us according to how much we've grown, right? And that's why our responsibility is such a big thing. Right? When these two conditions are finally met of us growing and then God working upon the vessel of our mature growth, then history can be fulfilled. So I hope that let's end the year well. Let's see off 2021 by renewing our body and spirit, and then receive 2022 powerfully and grow like a mature adult, right? So there's a lot of different things that we're going to go through, but especially that first point was the reason why we have to mature is because Providence history is the completion level history. It's the final history, which is at the completed or the mature level. And that's why we have to follow in the footsteps of the time period that we're living in. If it's a time of growth, if it's a time of teenagers like the New Testament or children, then that's something we have to grow according to that level. But because we're in the complete testament stage, the completion stage, we have to grow like fully grown adults. Grow completely, have that completion, understand the completion history. And how do we do that? Everything is through word and prayer. Grow through the word. Receive knowledge through the word. Receive wisdom of God through the word, right? With the words of God, we can grow in our heart and our thoughts because we're gaining in our brains. When you hear the word, we're just gaining knowledge and wisdom of how we should live. So I hope that this is something that we can look at, especially this week, right? I like the point of the age doesn't matter. We listen to the same word together, and that means we can all grow together regardless of age, regardless of how long you've been in Providence. So we need to eat the solid food of this time period to be able to distinguish from good and evil, right? So the age is not the issue. It's how much you accept the words of God, words of this history. This is the most important part, right? And that's why the question is, have you grown or not? That's the biggest question we have. It's not by age, but by listening to the word well and taking action. How much has our hearts grown? How much has our minds grown? How much has our thoughts grown? Our soul level, right? And that's the thing that we have to look at. How much have we grown? It's not about, did you reach this stage of perfection? Are you like Sunseam? No, it's about how much have you grown? Have you grown more than you did before? And that's the key part of have you grown or not. We're not saying, have you completed? We're just asking, have you grown? And that's the big thing. Have you grown more? Even during this pandemic, we might have done some wrong things, but have you grown in your thoughts in your mind? Like, oh, I really shouldn't do this. Oh, I realized about this. Have you grown? How do we know that someone is an adult or a child? Right? Especially when we're talking about someone who's matured. And of course, once again, it's not about the physical age. It's about your mind and thoughts. And this is the most appropriate way to see whether you're adult or child spiritually, right? Mentally. Because you've seen like there's a couple movies you'll like I Am Sam or that Miracle in Cell Block 7, whatever it is, where these people sometimes they have the body of a 40-year-old, but their mind only grew to a 7-year-old, right? So are they an adult or a child? Well, physically they're an adult, but mentally, which is the most important part, that's the thing we have to think about. We have to grow fully. And this is the cool part here is the only place where we can actually grow fully is in the complete testament, because that's the completion last stage. That's the only place we can actually complete in our growth. So only in this history can we really fulfill the purpose of creation, right? And this means that, yeah, what is God saying? He's saying to mature and grow because there's some people still at the infancy stage of faith. And this is why the Lord is speaking to us today, right? How much has your heart and mind changed after listening to the word? How much wisdom and knowledge have you received after listening to the word put into action? How much are you taking action based on mature thoughts? Or are you just getting angry over small things, right? So we have to listen to the words of this new time period. And we cannot act with the thoughts and deeds of children. But we can't be, I like that video. It's like, hey, guess what? The Pharisees were proud of tradition and how old their history is, but they were not mature. They were like children, and they ignored and persecuted Jesus with traditions, right? They nitpicked, they looked at Jesus, criticized him, they eventually killed him. They were children in the eyes of the new history. And the only people that were mature were those that were the apostles that listened to the new word. They're able to discern between good and evil, right? They were the ones that listened to the word, understood it. So we are the grown-ups from God's purpose of, from God's point of view. We are the grown-ups, and we are treated at that level and blessed at that level too. So the time period we're living is not any different when you look at how the former faith has treated providence, right? They think, that their tradition, and we've been around for 2,000 years, becomes that big deal for them more than anything else. But like we said, it's not about how long you've been here. It's about how much have you grown. That's the big thing. How much has the Protestant history grown over the last 400 years? And think about that. They are 10 times bigger than us, or longer than us, and probably 1,000 times bigger. So we have to consider this history, right? We are, just because we're only 43 years doesn't mean we're not adults, doesn't mean we're not grown. And we have to looking at it from God's point of view, from God's history, and we need the correct attitude, not thinking that they're bigger so they're better or they have more people. No, it can't be like this, right? We have to be those, as we accept this new history, be proud of these 40 years and how much we've grown. And not look at others physically. Oh, they've been here longer. They look, they have more people than us. It's the same thing with Moses. Moses was sent to his own brothers and sisters and the people of his, and they're like, who are you to tell us what to do? We've been here for this long. We are the Pharisees or Sadducees. Same thing happened to Jesus. Same thing happened to Sunseam right now. So we are the ones that have to kind of reach that new level. We, as people who are mature, we need to know what kind of person the Lord is. And we have to always do things praying and discussing with the Lord. We need to be those as mature to grow with the words of God. And I like this point here is if we grow with the words of God, then we can enjoy the history. But if we don't grow with the words of God, we cannot enjoy this history with the Lord. So that's something you have to look at is, am I receiving enough joy? And that's why our hearts, our actions have to really grow too. And, especially for this year, we have to make sure that we do renew our body and our spirits more than anything else, right? So, the growth, this is something that we have to look forward to each and every week. How much are we growing each and every week? Doesn't have to be huge. Little by little, every week, we got to grow, right? Little by little, we got to grow. And we need to become mature adults of faith, mature adults in our hearts and our deeds, right? So if we become adults, then our faith, our hearts, our deeds, all these other different things, they are grown, right? Grown for our level. So what does that mean to be adult of faith? It means, man, this is something Pastor really emphasizes. You must know the purpose of creation and then take action, being proud of it. Right? It's not about just knowing. You have to be proud of it. We're the only ones that are fulfilling it. We need to be proud of this more than anything else. Why are we born? Why did God send the Messiah? It's for the purpose of creation. Counterparts of love to the Holy Trinity. Right? This is the number one thing. Understand and realize, right, this purpose of creation well and put into action. Be proud of it. Because when you're proud of it, you're confident. When you're confident, you're able to do the things that you couldn't do before. How can we be adults? We must be adults by understanding God and realizing what God is doing. And if we can get to this level, understanding and realizing what God is doing right now, then God can love us even more and God can entrust his work to us. Right? That's what we got to get. We need to become those people that are being treated well because we make the Holy Trinity happy. Not, I was really struck by this. Are we, is God treating us well because it's like, oh my gosh, they're like 5 steps closer going to hell. So I got to treat them well so they don't leave. Are we like that? Or are we those that are just making the Lord happy? We need to be treated well because we make the Lord happy more than just because God doesn't want us to leave, right? We need to bury this like baby faith, just being taken care of all the time. It's very low level, right? It's a low level type of faith, just asking God to take care of me the entire time, right? We need to become adults of faith. When you look at Sunsteam too, in that, was it the third or fourth video, just seeing the conditions he was loving God, and then he ran away because it was so difficult, and then he saw Jesus in tattered clothes, realizing the connection they have because they're counterparts. And that's what happens. If your lover is sad, or if your relationship's not going well with your lover, how do you feel? You don't feel good. You feel bad. You feel terrible. That's what Jesus looked like. And that's why we need to open our eyes. Open our eyes to God. Open our eyes to Jesus. Open our eyes to the Holy Son. Open our eyes to the Holy Spirit. Open our eyes to the Word. Open our eyes to lives and evangelizing them. We have to love God. We have to love brothers. It's the greatest commandment that God has given us. And then we have to love the Word, love prayer, love lives, just like Sunsteam did. And he just lived a life of thanksgiving and praise. And this is how he received the baton of Jesus' love, right? It's really incredible, right? And then we have to be those that follow the Lord, take responsibility, no matter how difficult it is, receive the mentality of God, right? There's some areas we still need to grow in, but we got to open our eyes and grow. Open our eyes, fulfill the will. And I think one point that was really powerful was be deeply rooted in the Word. If you're not deeply rooted, you collapse. Even if you've been in Providence for like 30 years, I've been like 23, 24 years, I can still collapse if I'm not deeply rooted. What does that mean? It's not a one-time thing. You have to keep digging the roots deeper and deeper. If we're really planted in the Word, we will never escape the Word. As crazy as that sounds, we'll realize how much God loves us and the power of God's love. And then we'll know the will of God, right? We have the opportunity to bury things again. We have the opportunity to grow and mature. And we have the new opportunity to deeply root ourselves in the words of God, right? And we really need to know this, right? If there's like 3 things that Pastor Jones said near the end, the things that we need to know. That the Holy Trinity is one, but they are separate entities appearing through the one God sent. And then we need to know about the Lord and why he came, what he does, and what has he been doing right now. And then we need to help him, right? So I hope that all of us too can grow well, bury all the things we need to bury still before the end of the year, and we can start 2022, the year of prayer and the Word, with a powerful start, especially when it comes to giving glory to God. So, the key point of the message, of course, has to do with maturing, and God is treating us to how much we've matured, and as much as we've matured is as much as we will get blessed, as much as we'll get love, and as much as we'll fulfill the will. So, everyone, we need to mature, right? Listen to the word properly, take action, take responsibility, mature, right? Let's grow well so we can fulfill the will together. And, we can't live the life where we're constantly being told what to do. We got to grow. Enjoy the benefits of this time. Become fully grown brides, mature brides of this time period, and fulfill the purpose together with the Holy Trinity. So we're in the final history. There's nothing more left. So I hope that everyone, as we complete this word study, keep these words in mind as we are finishing off this last, this last month of the year. All right, so that is the word study for today for the Sunday message. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, and I hope it's something that we can keep thinking about. Put your thoughts in the comments just to see how you guys have been thinking, what's in your mind also. Okay, so that means the word study is done, which means we're going to get into the song of choice for today. And I always do these Mondays. I love the Filipino singers. So there's a guy named Inigo Pascual, right? Inigo Pascual, and I found this song, really good song called Dahil Sa'yo. Okay. Once again, Filipino listeners out there, please tell me what this means. I have no idea what it means, but I hope it's something that you guys can help me out so, I can know the theme of this song. But it's a great song, great singer too. Okay. So everyone, please enjoy. This is the song of choice for today. It is Inigo Pascual with Dahil Sa'yo.
Araw-araw ikaw ang gusto kong kasama. Buhay ko'y kumpleto na tuwing nandito ka sa tabi ko o aking giliw. Di pa din ako makapaniwala na ang dati kong pangarap ay katotohanan na. Ikaw ang tanging inspirasyon, at basta't nandito ka, ako'y liligaya. Dahil sa'yo ako'y matapang, dahil sa'yo ako'y lalaban. Para sa'yo pagmamahal na walang katapusan. Dahil sa'yo mayroong pangarap, pagmamahal ko sa'yo'y tapat. Para sa'yo pagmamahal na higit pa sa sapat. Gagawin ko ang lahat para lang sa'yo sinta. Basta't nandito ka, ako'y liligaya. Naghihintay ng tawag mo, marinig ang boses mo. Masaya't kontento na ako. Wala nang iba pang hahanapin, basta't ikaw ang aking kapiling. Lahat magagawa dahil kasama ka. Ikaw ang tanging inspirasyon, at basta't nandito ka, ako'y liligaya. Dahil sa'yo ako'y matapang, dahil sa'yo ako'y lalaban. Para sa'yo pagmamahal na walang katapusan. Dahil sa'yo mayroong pangarap, pagmamahal ko sa'yo'y tapat. Para sa'yo pagmamahal na higit pa sa sapat. Gagawin ko ang lahat para lang sa'yo sinta. Basta't nandito ka, ako'y liligaya. Pinagdarasal ko ng sobre na sana'y tanggapin mo aking inaalay. Napasasalamat sa pagliliwanag ng buhay kong ito'y na dati-rati di ganito na kay ligaya. Oh, tanggapin ang regalo, oh, mga rosas sa loko. Liliwanag din ang buhay mo pag nilabas ko na ang puso ko. Ikaw ang tanging inspirasyon sa bawat araw na harapin. Gagawin ko ang lahat para lang sa'yo sinta. Basta't nandito ka, ako'y liligaya. Dahil sa'yo ako'y matapang, dahil sa'yo ako'y lalaki. narito ka, ako'y liligaya.
And there it is. That is Indigo Pascual, and that song is Dahil Sa'yo. Filipino members out there, please tell me what is going on with that song. I would love to hear it. You guys can check out the link in the description. Indigo Pascual with Dahil Sa'yo. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right either, but you guys can correct me on that too. Okay, so let's get into the last segment for today. And of course, today's last segment is going to be the thoughts of the week. And of course, I'd like to introduce or bring in more people that can give their thoughts. What are they doing? What are the thoughts that they're having these days? And another good friend of mine, Juseong, Shaun McMillan, over here in LA right now. I hope that you guys will enjoy these. He's going to talk about creative writing.
When I was a child, I often read the Bible. But not for its entertainment value, but, out of a sense of obligation. I'm Christian, so I should read the Bible. Required reading is not usually very enjoyable. But every now and then you get lucky, and what you have to do turns out to be what you want to do. Once I got myself into the Bible, continuing to read was easy. Because these stories are really powerful. Each line grips you and forces you to contend with what is said and what is not said. The text hasn't changed. These stories are really old, yet somehow it is totally fresh and new every time you read it. This is because the text itself hasn't changed, but you have. The meaning is not there in the scriptures themselves, but emerges from your interaction with it. You are as necessary an ingredient as the scriptures themselves. Sometimes I read a line from the Bible and I wonder to myself, my God, what is this? Has this always been there? How could I have missed it before? You know great writing when you see it, because there seems to be no end to the layers of depth you can discover when reading again and again. People spend a lot of time these days caught up in an endless stream of entertainment. I also find myself wasting a lot of time meaningfully watching these carefully crafted dramas. When my life leaves me feeling forlorn, lonely, or lost, I find myself by getting lost in the woods of an imaginary man's troubles. Oh, this poor soul on the screen. This guy is truly lost. I laugh at his lack of insight, sympathize with his suffering, marvel at his incompetence, and encourage his persistence through the perils of life. My troubles blend with his, and by the end, I find I finally know where to begin. He is me. And though I cannot find the forest for the trees, perhaps his map will guide my way out. We all waste a lot of time, meaningfully, watching these carefully crafted dramas. Like you, I too am a walking contradiction. In great writing, you often find beautiful contradictions, oxymorons, and paradox. Take the opening line from Dante's Inferno, the great allegorical fiction of the 13th century, in which Dante Alighieri climbed through the 9 circles of hell. In the middle of my life, I found myself lost in the woods. He found himself lost. Is that not the way we all find ourselves, by getting lost? And are we not always in the middle of our life, the hero of our own story in the here and now? Yet it is centering on ourselves and not on God that often leads us astray. The Bible, too, is filled with seemingly superficial contradictions, carefully crafted paradoxical lines with double meanings. It tells stories of great depth with very few words, implying as much or more in what is left out and not said, or saying twice as much with half as many words. A person might be too intimidated to read the Bible because it is too long, but ironically, its stories are extremely short, and ingeniously so. Just look at the implied, contradictory double meanings of this line from the Binding of Isaac, a story in which God asks Abraham to sacrifice his one heir, in whom lies all the hope of so many promises this very God has yet to fulfill. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the two of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, "Father, "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and the wood are here," Isaac said. "But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." Genesis chapter 22. What does this last line mean? Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, comma, my son." Is Abraham just ending the sentence with an address to his son? There are already so few words in this story, so anything that is included must surely be there for a deep reason. Is Abraham brazenly telling his son that he is to be the burnt offering? Or is Abraham revealing some clever insight into the unexpected plot twist? Is the author winking at us, asking us to read between the lines so that we can cleverly nod and acknowledge their hint at foreshadowing? How much does Abraham know or not know? Is there some difference between what Abraham explicitly knows consciously and what he intuitively knows only implicitly or unconsciously? There seems to be no end to the psychological depths we could discover in this cleverly written line. Jesus himself was notorious for giving such clever responses. Just when the Pharisees thought they had the perfect trap for Jesus, he often outwitted them at their own game. Jesus, the Bible says to stone such a woman. What say you? It's the perfect trap, because he's merciless if he agrees to follow Moses' law and stone her to death. But he's a heretic if he says not to. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. What does Jesus say? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And then, one by one, they all left, dumbfounded and defeated. When a responsible young man was asked to follow Jesus, he first asked Jesus if he could go and bury his father. Now this seems like a very reasonable request. How do you think Jesus answered? How would you answer? Do you know the story? Take a moment to see if you can remember. No, Jesus told him. I mean, he did not really say no, but he definitely did not say yes. Jesus knew that once this young man got home, his mother was going to ask him to stay, become the man of the house, and take up his family responsibilities. There was no chance this young man would be able to follow Jesus, and his opportunity to make history would have been lost. But how could Jesus directly tell a young man to neglect his family responsibilities in front of a crowd of good, parent-abiding Jews? Jesus responded, "Let the dead bury the dead." It's not a yes, but a very clever no. A longer interpretation might read, "Let the spiritually dead bury the physically dead." Right? Take the hint. Take up your one chance at his spiritual life and follow me. We need words that shock and make people think. Like this great example from Sanzinin, my favorite teacher. Remember, or you will die. This is a great proverb because it grabs you by the shoulders and shakes you up with its bombasticness. It forces you to take it seriously and then provides great relief once you realize it's just a reminder. I take great joy in posting these iconoclastic phrases in contradictory contexts. When I became a high school teacher, I had to decorate my room. I wondered why other teachers would clutter every inch of their walls with positive motivational cliches. But I realized that students do in fact get so bored that they will read every single line you post on those walls. But still, I chose not to clutter up the walls. I instead posted the line from Dante's Inferno, the one that loomed over the gates of hell when he entered them. In English, it reads, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." And I posted it in big, bold, Gothic letters. Inspiring, right? But in this case, it's all about the context. If you look closely enough at our poster, you can see the signatures of various students who had attended the year before. My class was a game design class. The poster itself was above my bookshelf filled with adult designer board games. It was next to some of my favorite movie posters, including The Hunger Games and Ender's Game. The poster was from a mega game my students had played the year before, and the signatures were from all the students who had died in one part of the game and were cast out into another part to play as ghosts against the living players. In the context of a classroom, these words are every bit as ironic as the great line from the Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favor. Because we all know odds are indifferent and unpredictable in all ways but one. They are almost always not in our favor, because the house must always win. But it is that little bit of hope that keeps us playing. Hope is one of the most mystical paradoxes of human nature. It just might be the single most irrational feature of human thought. But ironically, hope proves itself time and time again to be rational, as hope itself turns the odds in our favor. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, it is the beautiful lie we tell that against all odds becomes a truth. As the architect said in the third Matrix, hope, it is the quintessential human delusion, simultaneously the source of your greatest strength and your greatest weakness. Great literature, scriptures, and well-written entertainment provide us the maps we need to navigate our social, psychological, and theological landscape. Ultimately, we need more than Google Maps to find our final destination. Death is the ultimate obstacle that we must overcome. In my favorite allegorical fictions, death itself is personified as a place or a character. Physical death is inevitable, but places and characters are obstacles that we can escape and overcome. If you have not read or seen the movie The Book Thief, I highly recommend it. The book itself is narrated by Death and takes place during World War II. I'm always moved when I read Death's final lines about human nature. I wanted to tell the book thief many things about beauty and brutality. But what could I tell her about these things that she didn't already know? I wanted to explain that I am constantly overestimating and underestimating the human race. That rarely do I ever simply estimate it. I wanted to ask her how the same thing could be so ugly and so glorious, and its words and stories so damning and brilliant. None of those things, however, came out of my mouth. All I was able to do was turn to Liesl Meminger and tell her the only truth I truly know. I said to the book thief, and I say it now to you. These are the final words of your narrator. I am haunted by humans. We all waste a lot of time, meaningfully, watching these carefully crafted dramas. Like you, I too am a walking contradiction. So the next time you find yourself feeling forlorn, lonely, or lost, find yourself by getting lost in the woods of an imaginary man's troubles. Laugh at that poor soul on the screen. Laugh at your lack of insight. Sympathize with your self's suffering. Marvel at your incompetence, and persist through the perils of life. Let his troubles blend with yours, and perhaps in the end, you will know where to begin.
And there you go. That is the thoughts of the week. Just done on Monday, just for this week. And next week, we'll go back to the 2G Talks with Eddie Kwan over there in San Francisco. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Have a wonderful, amazing, and awesome day today. And yeah, it is Monday. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fresh new week. Let's do it together, burying and maturing ourselves. All right? See you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.